In the early 1980s, the Guadalajara Cartel operated like a machine. Routes were controlled, shipments coordinated, and protection reached the highest levels. It felt stable, almost untouchable. That illusion ended when DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena uncovered a massive operation. He became a threat to the system itself. In 1985, he was abducted. What followed shocked both countries and drew international attention. His death triggered pressure, arrests, and the collapse of the cartel's structure. Families followed the story daily, watching a system fall apart in real time. What had once been centralized power fractured instantly, and once that structure broke, violence didn't slow down. After Camarena's death, pressure from the United States intensified rapidly. Key leaders were captured, alliances broke, and the organization splintered. What replaced it wasn't order, but competition. New cartels formed from the remains, each fighting for territory and control. Entire regions shifted from one influence to another within months. The old system disappeared, replaced by multiple groups with no shared structure. Violence increased, not decreased. Because when one system collapses, it doesn't end the conflict, it multiplies it, creating instability that spreads beyond its original borders. The Tijuana cartel controlled one of the most important border crossings in the world. Under the Arellano Felix family, it was structured and powerful. That changed when rivals began targeting leadership. Violence moved into public spaces, daylight shootings, restaurants, busy streets. People froze mid-step, unsure where to go or who to trust. Civilians became part of the conflict without warning. As leaders fell, control weakened. Businesses closed early, streets emptied faster. What followed wasn't stability. It was chaos spreading through the city, reshaping how people lived their daily lives. Nuevo Laredo became one of the most dangerous cities in Mexico during the war between the Gulf Cartel and Los Zetas. Control shifted constantly. Shootouts erupted in broad daylight. Military convoys moved through the streets, but violence didn't stop. Residents learned to stay inside, listening for distant gunfire before deciding if it was safe to move. Schools closed without warning. Businesses locked doors early. Streets that once felt routine became unpredictable corridors. This wasn't isolated conflict. It was sustained instability where no side fully controlled the outcome and where uncertainty shaped every decision people made. The Gulf Cartel recruited elite military deserters to enforce control. They became Los Zetas, highly trained, disciplined, efficient. At first it worked. Operations became sharper, faster, more precise. Movements were coordinated like missions, not street-level crime. Violence became targeted, controlled, almost clinical. But that precision changed the system. Enforcement turned into power. Over time, the group separated and formed its own cartel. What began as control created a new threat, one built on structure, experience, and discipline. And that threat escalated far beyond what the original system could contain. When Los Zetas broke away, conflict erupted across multiple states. This wasn't a quiet split. It was open warfare. Entire regions became contested zones. Highways turned into risk zones where movement could change without warning. Communities found themselves caught between shifting control lines. What had once been controlled became unpredictable. Civilians adapted by changing routes, avoiding travel at certain hours, and relying on rumors to stay safe. The war showed what happens when enforcement structures turn into independent power systems that no longer follow centralized control. In 2010, 72 migrants were found dead near San Fernando, Tamaulipas. They were traveling north, hoping for a different life. Instead, they were intercepted. The scale shocked the world. These weren't rivals. They weren't part of the conflict. They were civilians caught in a system they didn't control. Families across multiple countries waited for answers. The event exposed how violence had expanded beyond organized crime into broader human impact, affecting people far removed from the original system. Allende was a quiet town near the U.S. border. That changed when cartel members suspected cooperation with authorities. Armed groups entered the town systematically. Homes were destroyed. Entire families disappeared. Streets were left empty. Neighbors stopped asking questions. What remained felt incomplete. This wasn't random violence. It was organized removal, and for years it remained largely invisible, known only to those directly affected and those who searched for answers without success. In 2011, gunmen entered a casino in Monterrey after an extortion dispute. They set the building on fire. Inside, people had seconds to react. Smoke spread quickly. Visibility disappeared. Panic took over. People searched for exits through confusion and fear. More than 50 people died. Not rivals, not targets, civilians. Families waited outside without information. The attack changed perception overnight. It showed that no place was truly separate from cartel influence. Bodies were discovered in public spaces across Veracruz, left in areas where they would be seen. Messages accompanied them. The intent wasn't hidden, it was communication. Entire cities felt the impact. Public space changed. Movement changed. People avoided certain areas without explanation. Fear became part of routine behavior. And once that happens, control becomes invisible but constant, shaping actions without direct enforcement. In Iguala, 43 students disappeared after being detained by local police and handed over to criminal groups. The event exposed something deeper than violence. It revealed cooperation between institutions and organized crime. Families searched for answers that never came. Protests spread across the country. The absence became permanent. And when systems meant to protect people fail, there is nothing left to rely on. The CJNG expanded rapidly through direct confrontation. Territory was taken by force. Convoys moved through regions openly, signaling presence rather than hiding it. Rival groups resisted, creating ongoing conflict across multiple areas. Entire communities adapted to constant pressure. Movement became cautious. Daily routines changed. People adjusted where they went, when they traveled, and who they trusted. This wasn't a single event. It became a continuous state of instability, where tension remained even in moments of silence, and where control shifted faster than people could react. Across Mexico, mass graves have been discovered in multiple regions. Some were found accidentally. Others through investigations led by families. Relatives searched for missing people, often without answers. These discoveries revealed the scale of disappearance, not isolated cases, but patterns. The absence of people became part of the landscape, shaping communities long after events occurred. Prisons became extensions of cartel control. Riots broke out, often tied to external conflicts. Control inside shifted as groups fought for influence. Even confinement didn't stop operations. Communication continued. Decisions made inside still affected events outside. This showed that control wasn't limited to territory, it extended into systems meant to contain it. In 2019, Mexican forces captured Ovidio Guzman. Within hours, cartel forces responded. Roads were blocked, vehicles burned. Gunfire spread across the city. Civilians stayed inside, waiting and listening. The situation escalated rapidly. The government made a decision. They released him instantly, because control wasn't weakening, it was already gone. And once that becomes visible, perception changes permanently. Different events, different places, same pattern. What begins as controlled power never stays controlled. It expands, it fractures, and escapes the people who created it. Each tragedy started with structure, with rules, with control, and each reached a point where that control failed, not slowly, but suddenly. Because systems built on fear don't stabilize, they amplify. And once they run on momentum, they don't stop.